So for those that haven't heard, I believe it was last night, Maajid Nawaz was attacked. He says that it was racially motivated. The man, I think, called him a Paki, punched him in the face. You can see here in these photos, he's got a scar, what is that, a lesion on his forehead from where he was hit with a signet ring, I believe, and he's got what looks like a black eye. I like Maajid Nawaz a lot. I think he's a good dude. I've interviewed him in the past, and I've been to one of his events and, briefly got to speak with him. I think he's a good guy. I think he's rather centrist, and I respect him. And I also think he's very much opposed to violence. And he's made some really important points about the far left, the far right, and what he describes as from the heavens above in referring to religious extremism. When I first saw this attack, I was shocked. Like, wow, I can't believe that. It's like he said he was bending down to pick up his phone. Someone punched him in the head, attacked him from behind. And then I started thinking, so first of all, I just want to say, I wish Majid a speedy recovery. I'm a big fan. I have tremendous respect for him and the work he does. So this is really upsetting. It makes me angry. I started to see a bunch of people make comments, sending messages saying, this is outrageous. How could this happen? And I started thinking about the potential for a double standard. I'm not saying there is a double standard, but with Jussie Smollett, right now everyone's dragging him. It's believed by basically everybody at this point. He perpetrated a hoax. He's denying it still, but so what? And I thought, when Jussie first announced this, what's the difference between Maajid Nawaz saying he was attacked, it was a racial attack, look, he's hurt, these photographs go out, we don't really know what happened. But there's an important thing that I wanted to point out as to why, look, Jussie Smollett and Maajid Nawaz, they both deserve the benefit of the doubt. I don't care who you are or what you're doing. If someone comes forward and says they were attacked, I give them the benefit of the doubt. Okay, I see that you were attacked, I see these photos, let's investigate. I demand justice. And we're going to start with your word, and then through the investigation, turns out Jussie Smollett was likely perpetrating a hoax. I respect Maajid Nawaz substantially more than I respect Jussie Smollett because Jussie Smollett is an extremist partisan. But let's get to the nitty gritty of this. Maajid Nawaz doesn't push people's buttons for left or right brownie points or for religious brownie points or anything like that. He doesn't do that. At least that's my perspective on his work. Jussie Smollett immediately, he comes out and claims it was a MAGA, people were saying MAGA country or whatever, immediately politicized the attack. For me, I'm still willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, but it sounds weird when you have this perfect circumstance that plays up to your ideology when, listen, there was a really great explanation for why MAGA country sounded weird is because why would someone in Chicago yell that? That's not Chicago. Chicago is extremely liberal. And more importantly, Trump supporters don't see MAGA as a divisive term. They see it like, for the Trump supporters I know, they say MAGA with a handshake or a hug, not with a punch, right? That's the opposite of what MAGA means to the Trump supporter. So it was a very stereotypical, or it was a caricature of what the left views Trump supporters as. More importantly, you have these two attacks. One, it was racist from Maajid Nawaz. The other, it was political. It was racist, homophobic, but it was political. It was Trump supporters. They sent him this letter. They attacked him on the street. And it immediately is going to trigger people emotionally who will now doubt your story because they don't want to believe their side could pull something like that off. And as it turns out, it seems that to be true. Now with Maajid Nawaz, it was just a guy who was apparently attacking him for racist sentiment. Maajid calls him a racist coward. That is believable. Racism does exist. Racists do exist. And this is one of the biggest problems I have with people like Smollett and the regressive left, a term which Maajid Nawaz, I believe, actually coined himself. The regressive left wants things to be true, whether they're true or not. They exaggerate, they lie, they push nonsense, and they bully, and they're authoritarians. I think racism exists. I think it's a problem, absolutely. I think it's better than it's ever been, especially in the U.S., in terms of getting rid of racism. But I think we still have systems that are rooted in racism, that have come from racist past, that have been improved dramatically, but still have work, and they still have work. There's work still needing to be done. Basically, it's very simple. I am an individual of the left who believes in social justice the way it's supposed to be, not this regressive authoritarian BS. And the reason I believe in some of these things is because good people like Majid get the brunt of it. Why am I willing to believe Majid? He's trying not to politicize this. Now, first of all, again, benefit of the doubt to anybody attacked. But Majid, I trust way more so because he's resisting those who want to politicize the attack. He's resisting and calling them out for doing so. The opposite of what Jussie Smollett did. The opposite of what Jussie's, manager and his people were doing. The opposite of what the activists were doing. Maajid Nawaz is condemning the extremism. Let's read this. The LBC radio presenter Maajid Nawaz has said he does not harbor hate towards the man who attacked him outside a theater in central London as police investigate after reports of a racially aggravated assault. Look, I'm not trying to claim that Jussie was coming out saying I hate these people either. No. But you can tell right away from Maajid Nawaz's stance, he's trying to make sure people realize you can't pigeonhole everybody. He's a smart, centrist individual. I like that. Nawaz was hit from behind outside the Soho Theater on Monday after 7 p.m. by a white man who the presenter described as a racist coward, posting a photo of the cut to his forehead caused by a punch with what could have been a signet ring. Now, why should we take Majid's word for it? We shouldn't. Apparently, there were several witnesses who actually helped him. Another distinction between this and the Smollett story. On Twitter, apparently, the individuals who helped him and witnessed it have called this out. So now I'm going to say, okay, Jussie Smollett was at a random time in a part of Chicago I knew, in a weird-sounding story that made no sense, and I was still willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maajid Nawaz at this point's got several witnesses. All right, I'm gonna say for sure. However, it's not definitive evidence, and I still think we should wait for all the evidence to figure out what's going on. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to support him. He criticized far-left social media users for politicizing his attack by highlighting his centrist views, which they apparently claimed legitimized right-wing hate. Nawaz is the founder of the Quilliam Foundation, a counter-extremist organization. Spot on. So of course he's going to. He also criticized far-right figures for callously casting doubt on the fact that this racist attack even happened, adding, "Some Islamists online are openly celebrating this attack, wishing the racist had finished the job." So it looks like, as a centrist, he's going to get it from everybody. The far left is trying to use him to claim, like, oh, racism is a big problem. Sure, he called out the racist coward, for sure. But we can recognize that just because one dude is racist doesn't mean every conservative, every Trump supporter, everyone on the right is so either. And you can also call out those on the right who are going to doubt him and claim he's making things up. No, I understand why Jussie Smollett and the things he does sows this distrust. But Majid is a centrist anti-extremist, and I don't care who you are. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to err on the side of believing you, and we'll investigate. And then once we find out what happened, we'll make a determination. That's fair. I mentioned the white skin color and non-Muslim background of most of those who helped me because their examples alone debunk the bigotry and cynicism of the extremes from these three wings. It's just so great to hear the centrist rhetoric. As a centrist, it really brings a smile to my face. The attacker immediately fled the scene, but Nawaz said there were witnesses who heard the racial abuse and have given statements to the police who have his face on CCTV. Another big distinction between this and Smollett. On Tuesday afternoon, Nawaz paid tribute to his Samaritan on Twitter, sending his deepest gratitude to his family after they were so kind to him in the attack. The man said he witnessed the appalling, unprovoked attack on Nawaz and had called the police and spoke to officers. He credited Nawaz for remaining dignified and composed and said he cannot wait to pick the moron who did it out of a police lineup. There you go. Earlier on Facebook, Nawaz thanked witnesses, nurses, and members of the emergency services for treating him with diligence and care, saying he owed a huge debt to the two witnesses, both white, non-Muslims, who called the police and consoled him before emergency services arrived. "Your kindness kept me sane," he said of the witnesses, while also thanking Soho Theater for identifying the racist assailant on their CCTV footage. Nawaz said, "People from all ethnicities and all faiths, and none, helped me yesterday. It's in that spirit that I wish to carry on my work. I do not wish to harbor hate for my attacker. I've already been down that path at a younger age, and I have seen how it leads to nothing good." The Metropolitan Police said they were called to report of a racially aggravated assault in Dean Street at 7:10 p.m. A spokesperson said officers attended the location. The suspect had made off prior to the arrival of police. An investigation has been launched. There has been no arrest at this stage. I trust Maajid Nawaz to a very great degree, especially as he resists the politicization of his attack. But I'm going to go ahead and make a point that leaves me, even to an extent, in favor of like legitimate, real social justice. I can only imagine what it must be like for someone like Majid to be worried that someone might just attack you for no reason other than you look a certain way. I've experienced racism because of my family history, but I am mixed, so some people don't know what I am. And I imagine that gets me off sometimes having to deal with these kinds of experiences. But there are a lot of people, actually, no, I can say this. I grew up next to a dominant 100% black neighborhood, and we were told basically we can't go over there for a lot of different reasons. There was racial tensions in the south side of Chicago. So I think it's fair to say that a lot of people can't experience this. But what I ask is just to try and imagine being an individual of, one race, ethnicity, identity, surrounded by everyone who is different from you. While in London, this is rare. It's not like Majid's getting beat up all the time. He still has to recognize that. He still has to live with the idea that someone just attacked him for no reason. Now, a lot of people can attack people for no reason all the time. I'm not saying that because this attack happened, we should pay special attention. Just that we should pay attention. People get attacked for no reason, for random reasons, and for stupid reasons. The point is, there are, when we try to solve one problem, it doesn't mean we're ignoring other problems. We want to end violence in general, and we can recognize that sometimes it is racially motivated. It doesn't mean we need this ridiculous anti-white sentiment coming from the fringe left, but it does mean we can respect someone like Maajid Nawaz, who was attacked because someone thought he was, they called him some stupid name. They called him an insult because of what he looks like. That's dumb. It would be stupid to attack someone for being blonde. It would be stupid to attack someone for being a Trump supporter. The violence in general should stop. And I think we can point out that sometimes it's one thing or another and still recognize it could be something else. Like the point ultimate point, and I'm done, is yes, there are racist attacks. They're bad. They should stop. They're politically motivated attacks. They should stop too. They should all stop. And sometimes we have to focus on a particular issue to stop a particular kind of violence. Ultimately, this is very different from Jussie Smollett, but there are similarities. There absolutely are. We'll see what happens. I still reserve the right to make a judgment should we find out more evidence. I'd be willing to bet a substantial amount that Maajid Nawaz didn't fake this, though. That's ridiculous. But who knows? I don't think things are absolute. I trust Majid, big fan. But at the same time, it would be hypocritical to condemn Jussie Smollett and pretend like we knew from the beginning he faked it. No, we gave him the benefit of the doubt, and then not do the same thing for someone else just because they're of a political faction. We'll see what happens. But to anybody who's attacked, you have my condolences, and I wish you a swift recovery. That goes for you, Majid. Thanks for hanging out. Stick around. I got another video coming up in a few minutes.